Number 20, the Deep Sea King, One Punch Man. There's brutal, there's merciless, and then there's just plain disrespectful.
感じるたくさんの気配よあそこから感じる
Unfortunately for the Deep Sea King, his final moments lean towards the latter. At first, his siege on humanity was going pretty well, but then he came face to face with Saitama.
聞こえてるのよ
Let's just say the fishy fiend quickly discovered why they call him the One Punch Man. It's a quick end, but rest assured it wasn't painless. In fact, the king's remains are so grotesque, they might not even be worth burying. The only mercy here is that the Deep Sea King became sushi before he had to deal with the embarrassing aftermath. Number 19, Snake Baron, Berserk. Guts doesn't know the meaning of the word mercy, especially when up against apostles.
I've heard rumors about you. You're the one who's been making trouble for all of us servants. You, a human. You think you can defy us?
So when he ran into the Snake Lord, he decided a point-blank shot from a mechanical arm cannon wasn't good enough. Neither was chopping it to bits or shooting it with a crossbow.
But even if we are tortured or wounded, we'll fight to survive. You should feel the pain we feel and understand.
No, in order to really make the slithery villain suffer, Guts pierced with every single arrow he had. He even let the monster catch fire too, just for good measure. The resulting body is not a sight for sore eyes, that's for sure. Although, the fact that Guts made an apostle beg for mercy should tell you everything you need to know. Number 18, Honest, Akamega Kill. Ironically, Prime Minister Honest was anything but, so by the end of the season, his comeuppance was long overdue. But it was all worth it to see Leon finally get some vengeance. Clearly, she was the right one for the job, since not even a few gunshot wounds stopped her from turning Honest's skull into a bloody meatball. Given everything the minister did, she could have chosen any number of vicious ways to finish him, and they all would have been satisfying. But at the end of the day, there's just something vindicating about Leon doing it with her bare hands, even if it did leave a big mess behind. Number 17, Kurokawa, Sabikui Bisco. As if his initial death wasn't bad enough, Kurokawa decided to come back for round 2, and it went about as well as his first. After all, it's saying something when an arrow to the face isn't even the most painful part. No, in a cruel twist of fate, Kurokawa survives just long enough to see his Tetsujin body be overwhelmed by rust-eaten mushrooms. From there, all he can do is wait and scream as he's squashed like the bug he is. If Kurokawa's first 2 deaths are any indication, it's probably best if he just stays down this time. Number 16, Gabriel Miller, Sword Art Online. As everyone knows, if you die in the game, you die in real life. But somehow Miller missed that memo. After Kirito gave him a game over, the Subtilizer didn't understand that he lacked a body to return to. On the bright side, Miller had some friends, like Alicia, to welcome him into the afterlife. The downside is that he's the one who murdered them in the first place, and they all hold a grudge. The last we see of Miller, he's being dragged below Underworld by the spirits of everyone he's wronged. Talk about being haunted by your past. Number 15, Kycilia Zabi, Mobile Suit Gundam.
He no longer lives up to the name of the Red Comet.
As far as dramatic ends go, decapitation via bazooka is pretty high on the list. In fact, it's so high, the word overkill doesn't even come close to describing it. But that's just Char Aznable for you. All season long, he made it clear he was going to exterminate the Zabi family, or die trying.
Garma, I'm sending your sister to join you.
Of course, no one expected him to do it with so much flair. In the end, it's almost poetic that Char's salutes is the very last thing Kycilia Zabi ever saw. But at the very least, she can take solace that she went out with a real bang. Number 14, Eternity Devil, Chainsaw Man. On paper, this devil's plan should have been foolproof. The hunters were trapped in an illusionary hotel with no food, no plan, and no hope for escape. The only issue, the omnipotent Eternity Devil still felt pain. So with literally all the time in the world, Denji got to sawing. Since he had a never-ending supply of devil blood at his disposal, he could keep it up for, well, eternity. Luckily, Denji didn't have to wait that long. Despite the devil's name, it only ended up lasting 3 days. By then, the Eternity Devil was just happy to be put out of its misery. Number 13, King Sweyn, Vinland Saga. Despite his best efforts, King Sweyn's tenure ends with his legacy and his crown covered in blood. And that's all because of Ashlad, who storms into the room with the bombshell that he's Britannia's rightful heir. Then, in true Ashlad fashion, he wastes no time taking the throne for himself. There's a quick slice of a sword, and just like that, the former king's head is now rolling on the ground. The swift and heartless manner in which Sweyn dies is nothing short of pitiful, especially since Ashlad had the gall to smile as he does it. This was no mere murder, it was an execution. Number 12, Diavolo, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind. Even the cruelest, most vile deaths imaginable have to end at some point. Alas, the same can't be said for Diavolo's fate. He can be hit by a car, die in excruciating agony, and then immediately wake up to do it all over again. Rinse and repeat for all of eternity. Sometimes he drowns, sometimes he's stabbed, sometimes he's awake during his own autopsy. But no matter what, Diavolo always suffers. That's what he gets for thinking he could challenge Gold Experience Requiem. The Stan's ultimate attack is so dangerous, it makes every other mode of death seem positively charitable. Yeah, remind us to stay on Giorno's good side. Number 11, Bertholdt Hoover, Attack on Titan. They say the bigger they are, the harder they fall, but in the case of Bertholdt's death, he'd already been cut down to size. As a pathetic, limbless human, he spends his final breaths begging for mercy from the very squad he once betrayed. It's hard to feel too bad for him though. On the contrary, it's somewhat poetic that he's devoured by the same titans he tried to let loose on Paradis. If there's any saving grace in Bertholdt's demise, it's that he didn't live to see his titan powers wreck his home. Unfortunately, there's no such luck for saving his legacy. Number 10, Kazumitsu Tendo, Black Bullet. Revenge is a dish best served bloody. after it's revealed that the one who caused a string of recent disasters surrounding the Gastria was none other than her own brother. Kisara decides to put an end to his political career in typical Tendo clan fashion. Her condition may prevent her from fighting for long periods of time, but she only needed a second to unleash a sword swing that was so precise that it managed to slice her bro's head open with rather explosive results. The icing on the cake obviously being the delayed reaction. Wonder what was running through this guy's head before he realized it was about to split open. Number 9, Iok Kujan, Mobile Suit Gundam, Iron-Blooded Orphans. There may have been other members of Gjallarhorn who were more deserving of receiving a crushing death, but there's no denying watching this melodramatic and somewhat pathetic noble get his comeuppance was wholly gratifying. Turns out his own paper-thin attempt to avenge his troops ended up landing him right at death's door, when a wounded Akihiro decided to get his own revenge for all those Tekkadan had lost. The fact he got to crush the dude inside his own mobile suit until he was nothing more than a stain was especially satisfying. Number 8, Gusung Sho, Psychopath. He may have been Makishima's right-hand man, but it appears that wasn't enough to entitle this guy to an epic death like his boss. Instead, he once again served as a reminder of just how devastating the power of a dominator can be. His ideals regarding the destruction of the Sibyl system may have been absolute, and he was certainly no slouch on the draw, but none of that did him much good when his head ended up exploding in a visceral display of gore. You know what? It pays to be an enforcer. Number 7, Junko Enoshima, Danganronpa the animation. Guess it only makes sense that someone who spent so much time setting up elaborate killing games would save the craziest execution for herself.
最高じゃない。これが絶望なのね。2年も前からこの学園に乗り込み、綿密な計画を練り上げていって。
After being exposed to having her precious despair fail in the face of her victim's combined hope, Junko decides now would be a great time to jump on the crazy train and end her own life via the ultimate execution.
では、張り切っていきましょう。お仕置きタイム
Battered by baseballs, burned at the stake, launched into space, and ultimately crushed, it may be more style than substance, but no one can deny Junko's end was one nobody is liable to forget. Number 6, Clementine, Overlord. A mercenary with a nasty habit of collecting the medals of her slain victims, often in the most brutal of ways imaginable, it was only a matter of time before this femme fatale messed with the wrong adventurer. As it happened, she fell straight into the grasp of Einzel Gon. As payback for slaughtering his temporary companions, Bone Daddy decides the most suitable way for her to leap off the mortal coil would be to get slowly crushed to death via a rather beastly embrace. It might sound like Albedo's wet dream, but it turns out to be beyond Clementine's most painful nightmares. Number 5, Zorin Blitz, Hellsing Ultimate. By no means the traditional way of killing a vampire, but we can't deny its effectiveness.
許さない許さない許さない
Following the death of her romantic interest at the hands of the mind-bending Nazi, Ceres finally fulfills her dark destiny and consumes blood, transforming into a complete vampire in the process. Now strong enough to lay the smackdown on the Millennium Officer, the young Draculina ushered in her new unlife by dragging Zorin's face across a wall at such a speed, it's shredded into bloody chunks.
私の前から私の心から
Alucard would be proud. Number 4, Teru Mikami, Death Note. A fierce devotee of Kira, Mikami proved to be Light's most useful tool during his conquest, having him use the Death Note to take care of any obstacles or pawns no longer useful to the new god's cause. He may have been a loyal subordinate, but that worldview was shattered when he found his savior was nothing more than a mortal man with delusions of grandeur.
Write down their names! Write them down! Kill them now!
Needless to say, he did not take it well, choosing to stab himself instead. Live by the pen, die by the pen.
Quick! Stop the bleeding!
It's already too late. You'll be dead in a few seconds.
Number 3, Ghiaccio, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind. Forever volatile and well-skilled in ice skating, this frosty member of the Hitman team might have ended up suffering the most painful end out of the lot of them. While his White Album looked to have put both Giorno and Mista in a deep freeze, he found himself in the dire position of getting a face full of Gold Experience's fancy footwork, which served to jam his head onto a spike until his armor had been totally flooded with blood. Ironic that it took dying to get this stand user to finally chill out. Number 2, Pitou, Hunter x Hunter. Royal Guard, Chimera Ant, Kite Killer. This was one bad kitty. Thankfully, it's nothing a little Nen-powered fist to the cranium can't solve. Fueled by rage after discovering that there's no way for his friend to be brought back, Gon goes full-on alpha, his body transforming into that of an adult with enough strength to even outdo a demon like Pitou. While a single punch is enough to incapacitate him, Gon made doubly sure to waste all of the cat's 9 lives, dropping enough Jajanken until the ant's head was reduced to a blue mulch. Number 1, Biscis T. Balmus, The Rising of the Shield Hero. While not garnering as much hate as a certain lying princess, the leader of the Three Heroes Church was still a scumbag with an ego larger than his congregation.
神への反逆、その大罪、浄化では生ぬるい。
Armed with a false holy weapon, the Pope's divine magic nearly spelled doom for the Cardinal Heroes. He may have been convinced his faith was strong enough to best the so-called Devil of the Shield, but that was proven to be just another part of his hubris when Naofumi unloaded a blood sacrifice on him. It's gonna take a lot more than a prayer to come back from that. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.